I'm Bob Pahre. I'm a professor of political science at the University of Illinois, and most of my teaching and research focuses on environmental politics, particularly public lands and the politics of national parks. In this talk, I'll share with you a list of my favorite national parks. America has so many great parks that it's impossible for me to answer the question, what's your favorite? When people ask me that question, I like to ask them another question. How much time do you have? And what is it that you like to do? With those differences in mind, I'm going to focus here on the length of visit that you have available. So here's a rundown of a few of my favorite national parks, sorted by how long you have to visit each one. In my opinion, the best national park for a day visit is Yosemite National Park in California. Spend your day in Yosemite Valley, which offers the best eye candy in the national park system. Use the park shuttle to avoid parking hassles and to give yourself options for one-day hikes between features. You'll never be far from an ice cream cone unless you decide to take a strenuous hike out of the valley. My runner-up park for a day visit is Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona. My second runner-up is Mount Rainier National Park in my home state of Washington. Both Grand Canyon and Mount Rainier offer great views from the main visitor center while offering paved paths to explore a small sample of these crown jewel parks. In fact, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, and Mount Rainier all have enough fairly level paved paths that they're pretty accessible for people with disabilities, and they have some wheelchair accessible paths as well. In my opinion, the best national park for a weekend visit is Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Take the boat across Jenny Lake to spend one full day exploring Cascade Canyon. After you visit the top-notch Craig Thomas Discovery Center, take a short hike through the woods to reach the Murie Ranch. You can also reach the Murie Ranch by driving directly to the ranch. At the Murie Ranch, you can learn about the role of the Murie family in the history of wilderness protection in the United States. Explore Jackson Hole by hiking around Emma Matilda and Two Ocean Lakes. That's a relatively long but tolerably flat hike. You can hike the Peninsula Trail, which is even flatter and has both longer and shorter options. Or you can tackle a steep trail to a mid-elevation lake, and that would be a strenuous option. At night, you can stay in one of the very pricey lodges in the park, one of the cabin developments, or in a campground. In the category of weekend visits, my runner-up park would be Glacier National Park in Montana. A lot of visitors simply drive the Going to the Sun Road to see a slice of the park. I'd recommend that you spend a night or two at the Many Glacier Hotel or at one of the other lodges around the park. Depending on which one you pick, you'll have options for guided tours, boating, canoe rentals, hiking, or just wildlife watching and photography. The Many Glacier region is particularly well known for its grizzly bear sightings. If you want to explore the trails there, I recommend renting some bear spray. The best national park for a week-long visit is a Midwestern park, Isle Royale National Park in Michigan. It's in the middle of Lake Superior, and you can reach it by boat from Minnesota or from Michigan's Upper Peninsula. If you enjoy backpacking, put Isle Royale on your life list. My runner-up in the category of a week-long visit would be Denali National Park and Preserve in Alaska. Enjoy the views of Denali and the Alaska Range while allowing for a couple of days of bad weather. You can stay in lodges, you can stay outside the park, you can arrange for flight seeing tours, and you can also go on backpacking trips into the backcountry. There's very few marked trails once you get into the backcountry, so you should have some familiarity with backcountry navigation. Staying a week probably means that you'll get to see Denali. The rule of thumb is that Denali is only visible on 1 out of every 3 days. So a full week long will let you see it twice, we hope. The best national park, if you have 2 weeks, is Olympic National Park in Washington State. Explore wild ocean beaches, glaciated mountains, temperate rainforests, and empty backcountry trails in the high country. It rains all the time on the southwest side of the mountains, but there's a rain shadow on the northeast side. Sequim gets less rain than Los Angeles does. The rainfall gradients and the elevation differences make this a remarkably diverse park. My runner-up park in this category is Great Smoky Mountains National Park in North Carolina and Tennessee. Like Olympic, it has both differences in rainfall gradients and differences in elevation, making it a very diverse national park. Like Olympic, you will also pretty much have to stay outside the park unless you're camping, but there are many campgrounds throughout the park. The best national park for a month is difficult for me to choose. It depends in part on who's paying the bills. If someone else is paying my bills, I think I would choose Wrangell St. Elias National Park in Alaska. Wrangell St. Elias is America's largest national park. It's big enough to hold Yellowstone National Park and Yosemite National Park and Rocky Mountain National Park, and have enough room left over to put Switzerland. The park also has more mountains than Switzerland does, including 3 of the 5 highest mountains in the United States. You probably have not heard of any of those 3 mountains. To get around, you need to hire a bush pilot to move you from one wilderness airstrip to another. You probably also want to hire guides, whether backcountry guides, climbing guides, or rafting guides, to explore other parts of this huge park. Between adventures, hang out at the Kennecott Lodge, visit the historic copper mine, and hire a guide to explore the Kennecott Glacier. You might also want a guide for backpacking trips, visits to historic sites around the park, or for technical mountain climbing. That expertise is not free, and neither is a good bush pilot. That's why I'd like somebody else to pay the bills. My runner-up park in this category, if I'm paying the bills, is Yellowstone National Park. The world's first national park has big summer crowds and 1,000 miles of backcountry trails. I strongly recommend you get onto those backcountry trails and away from the crowds. Leave the boardwalks and parking lots to find backcountry geysers, lakeside campsites, waterfalls, raging rivers, and the park's famous wildlife. Personally, I'd take 3 one-week backpacking trips and then stay in a different hotel for a couple of nights in between those week-long trips. That would give me some restaurant meals and hot showers. If you were to do this, I would also include at least one stay at the Old Faithful Lodge and include both sunrise and sunset watching Old Faithful erupt. At sunrise and sunset, everybody else is either asleep or eating dinner. That means that a relatively small group of people have Old Faithful to themselves. With few exceptions, you really can't go wrong exploring the national park system. Whether you're looking for a nearby park like Indiana Dunes or a big adventure in an Alaskan park, I hope you'll find this list helpful. Wherever you go, I hope you'll enjoy exploring America's wonderful national parks.